made by Starbright Studios, premier solar-powered film studio.
It's said that what happens on the day you were born provides a theme for the rest of your life. I'm a millennium baby, born into a time of celebration and joy. I suppose it must have been a strange night though, with so many people partying the night away, not knowing if a computer bug was going to bring down their company, a glitch that would empty their bank accounts the very next day. The date change from 1909 to 2000, bringing about the destruction of their home, their world. It was another dating era that was to bring our downfall. An onslaught too fast and too furious for any of us to cope with. We'd evolved in 5 minutes, learning how to take from nature more efficiently. From the men in the fields to the horse, we deserved the best. We wanted something so much better than we had and put everything into achieving that without any consideration. In our haste, we destroyed the natural world and destroyed ourselves. What we had was more important gadgets and gizmos to help us live faster and better in the short term. We had destroyed 50% of the world's forests and expected the world to still be a good host, our friend.
Climate change.
The Earth whispered warnings of what was to come. Weather patterns increasingly upset, the largest flood, the worst drought, the greatest storm. It was the greenhouse effect, and every scientist had an opinion.
Climate change.
First went the insects, the bees. So what? They were unable to pollinate our food, and considering they pollinated about 70% of our crops, that so what was a pretty big deal. Then went the trees, the soil, the animals, the air and the sea. It was so sad, but oh well, we learned to cope. Then the people in Africa, already hungry, began to starve. And our brothers and sisters in Asia, washed away by the storm that never stopped. We took action by talking, and changing its name of course, first the greenhouse effect, and then global warming. The scientists at first were of different opinions, yet by the time I was 5 years old they'd all agreed, climate change. It was real, and it was deadly. Those of another view were flat earthers, helping to flatten the Earth's resources. Meeting once a year we discussed targets, yet we needed to be setting and achieving our targets every day. We looked to science, governments, technology, our faith. We took action by putting endless resources into clearing up the mess, not solving the cause by changing our lifestyles rapidly. I was born into a time of trivia, our technological wonder, the wrapping paper masking what lay below the surface. An approximate date was set for the end of the world. The shopaholic consumed anyway without drawing the connection between consumerism and taking the food and water from their children's mouths. Consumerism without care. Living without factoring in life. Some began changing their lives, living in harmony with nature, reducing their footprint, giving back to nature. We all needed to be those green people, but without a global strategy in place, we didn't have time to maximise our potential and change our lifestyles together fast enough. When I was a teenager, 300,000 people were dying every year from climate change, yet that was nothing compared to what was to come.
Climate change.
Accompanied by our technological jargon, props and gizmos, we proudly marched down a well-worn path, the same path many other great civilizations had walked before us. The Romans, the Greeks, the Incas, Olmecs, the Maya. Each one thinking their civilization would last forever. Like the East Islanders, from natural resources we created monuments before nature stewardship. Details got in the way of survival action in their little world. What was better for appeasing the gods, red stone or grey? They wiped themselves out trying to find out, destroying their ecosystem in the process, forgetting the greatest monument of all, the monument of life, the beautiful earth. Taking, taking, taking. Nature's bounty was at the heart of every transaction. Yet what about a slice of pie for nature? Nature's reaction? Anger. Fires in the summer, storms in the winter. Our land slipped away from our hands, yet with a growing population we needed more land, not less. This of course led to food shortages, and the water drying up meant less usable land. We didn't grow food at home much, and with the drying up of oil necessary for the transporting of food, we had created the perfect recipe for a global catastrophe. Within 3 or 4 decades the world shook us off, nature gracefully reclaiming the world from our age of technology. In times of flood, we'd been taught to build arks to save nature. Today we scream back to the past generations, "Change your ways now!" hoping they hear our voices, if only as a whisper. It was awesome, global and real, combining forces from NGOs, pressure groups, clubs, companies, unions, associations, schools, universities, retirement homes and governments, together meeting and beating our nemesis, climate change. We were like honeybees setting up hives, ecoplazas communicating hive to hive via satellite link and internet, working together to feed the queen bee, the earth. We were all a part of the process. Whilst many had worked on being individually greener, we formed a collective. We learned how to be green from those with knowledge. We were recycling the excess resources of whole streets, towns and cities wholesale, cascading into 6 or 7 levels of win-win situations. Ecomonics was the economics within Ecoplaza. We were becoming greener together. Ecoplazas were infrastructure to help us improve our green living performance. At Ecoplaza, whatever transaction we carry out, a portion goes back to the earth. From tree planting to renewable energy, every transaction has an ecological benefit. They created 1,000 new green industries and 1 million green jobs. Companies learned how to adapt to being greener, learned what alternatives were available for every industrial process. Bargaining was rife over the net, everyone figuring out and networking how we could innovate new ways of the earth getting a cut out of any deal. And ecoplazas were a hub, an antidote for the many social ills we have created, a focal point for community help, helping the elderly, homeless, the infirm and children with special needs. People gave generously what they could, helping build the necessary new stratas of the carbon neutral economy and sustaining forest communities. Always a process, always innovating, knowing that one day the survival of my family could depend on them. I supported them. Ecoplazas were established around the world, from Soweto to New Orleans. Everyone contributing what they could spare and what they could share. A little from everyone soon produced centres with a global resource base of staggering proportions. It was the economic model within Ecoplaza that created the magic, a new way to give us charity, not just money, but resources. Demonstrations on how to install renewables across the globe, on how to turn our homes and the land back into a paradise oasis for nature. We accessed information on how to insulate our homes, car share, how to companion plant food, how to reduce our carbon footprint, how to join the process of saving the world through eating less meat. We learned to source our food locally with our hands in the soil, how to decarbonise our industrial processes through building affordable housing with eco-materials that turn new buildings into carbon sinks. Schools of natural living, the learned in the community teaching how to green every aspect of our lives.